Hi teachers, Brother Judd here. I've got some help for your lesson out of Mosiah chapters 9 and 10. Now, I'll admit this part of the Book of Mormon can get a little confusing because you've got flashbacks, you've got people moving back and forth, you've got lengthy quotes from Isaiah coming up when Abinadi is there before King Noah. And so to be able to help our students understand the context of what's going on is really, really important. You know, who is Zeniff, and why all of a sudden does Zeniff live amongst the Lamanites, and why does he live there, and what's going on, all that kind of stuff. Well, I've got a really good resource for you. It is the Book of Mormon in 8 minutes video. Our own brother James Fulmer put this video together, and it gives you as a teacher, and you could even just show this thing in its entirety to your class if you haven't already, to help your students figure out, you know, what's going on and why do the Nephites live in Zarahemla now, and if they need to understand the context of, you know, where the Nephites live in relation to the Nephites, and Zarahemla is where, and why, who is Zeniff, and where is he going, and all that stuff. This overview video, the Book of Mormon in 8 minutes, you don't have to watch the whole thing, but maybe watch enough of it so that your students know exactly what's going on and who's where and all of that. I'll make sure to put the link to this video in the description. But knowing, you know, what's going on is going to be really important. And then I think it's a lot easier to understand and to have your students engage with the story and then start learning some of these really important principles. So the title for this lesson is In the Strength of the Lord, and it's all about, you know, Zeniff, how he was, the word that gets associated with Zeniff is he's overzealous. There's this good idea from Elder Stevenson about an eclipse, and talks all about perspective. I'm not going to go over that. You can check it out yourself. But it talks about Zeniff's overzealousness and how he wanted to go re-inherit the land of their first inheritance, which is down amongst the Lamanites now. And so there's this handy little graphic that shows what's going on. Again, you can use the Book of Mormon in 8 minutes video. And also, and I'll link this in the description as well, I've got this PDF that you could possibly even print off for your students so that they can kind of track things on their own, maybe draw some arrows on it to help them figure out what's going on. And then so you can talk about, well, what got Zeniff into trouble? And so, you know, it says here, Zeniff had a great desire to inherit this land, but his focus led to problems for him and his people. And so then you can talk about, you know, what does it mean to be overzealous, and how does that get us into trouble? The stated principle here is one truth we can learn is that being overzealous and slow to remember the Lord can lead to negative consequences. And so the rest of the lesson, you know, it gives some possible ideas about, you know, like maybe we're overzealous about, you know, there's a young woman who thinks back on her life and she was overzealous about getting good grades and preparing for her future, that she didn't nurture her testimony the way that she should have, and now she sincerely doubts whether the church is true. Okay, if that scenario fits, you know, someone or, you know, a number of your students, that might be a good one to use. I was looking at the material here at the end of the lesson where it has this supplemental learning activity and a slightly different thing. And I felt like with a lot that's going on in just society today, with people getting offended or feeling wronged, this might be a really good supplemental learning activity. The stated principle here is, you know, focusing on perceived wrongs can lead us to hate others, ignore God, and experience undesirable consequences. Taking offense and holding on to anger can prevent individuals and their children from knowing the Lord and his strength. And so what it does is it compares the Nephites and the Lamanites, specifically Zeniff, his people. It compares their reactions to things versus how the Lamanites are reacting to things. And you can have a really good discussion about, okay, you're offended or you're mad about something. You're feeling this desire to do something to correct a perceived wrong. How can we make sure that we're actually helping bring about justice and not just further compounding the problem by adding a whole lot of fuel to a fire that really, really is just creating much more heat than light? So maybe that would be a good one to look at. If not, I mean, there are a lot of other good ideas here in the lesson, but for this training, I just wanted to draw your attention to this supplemental learning activity at the end. Talking about when is it the right thing to stand up and to say something, and how do you avoid being overzealous, and that's where this first part of the lesson could be really helpful. So I know a lot of our students have feelings of wanting to bring about justice, of wanting to help people that they perceived as being oppressed, and I would never want to discourage students from wanting to do what they can to help people. But at the same time, how do we do so in a way that we don't become overzealous and we lose sight of whatever good it was that we were trying to bring about? And so this whole story about Zeniff and his people, and you can use his overzealousness as an example of how we can do much good without becoming overzealous ourselves. The good news is that Zeniff seems to figure it out, which brings us to this next stated principle, turning to the Lord. I believe it's down here that if we pray and go forth in faith, we can face our challenges in the strength of the Lord, which is what Zeniff and his people do, and they're able to overcome Zeniff's overzealousness and be able to kind of put the wheels back on the project that they undertake. So, and then good resources there. This video about prayer, a couple of good quotes here from prophets and apostles. So really good lesson here. It really balances the idea of being based in the scriptures, focused on Jesus Christ, and maybe this supplemental learning activity could help it be more student focused, so you can talk about the things that they might feel wronged or offended or getting angry about, if they're willing to share with you. Or you could always just talk hypothetical examples as not to put their particular feelings, out on display. So I hope that was helpful. We're nearing the end of the year. A really exciting time. I wish you the best in helping, in trying to deal with your students' extra energy that they seem to have here at the end of the year. So God bless you in all that you do, and I will have another training for you next week. Until then, take care.